Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 23rd of July. I'm Derek Clark. I'm delighted, as always, to welcome Joshua Barry and also a special guest, Chris Jack, joins us this morning as well. How are we doing, Chris?
Morning, guys. Thanks for having us on. All doing well, so looking forward to getting a chat.
Absolutely. Joshua, how's it going? Is the weather subsided a little bit where you are? I know down in Warrington it's still absolutely melting.
Yesterday was apparently almost the hottest day on record in Scotland because it was 31 degrees.
Madness.
So, and we were at Loch Lomond and we were in the water until 20 to 11 because that's how warm it was. So that's why my voice sounds like I've been smoking. I've not, but no, very warm. I think the thing is meant to relieve itself today.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Roll on winter. Chris, we've got you on. Thanks very much for coming on, first of all. But it'd be remiss of us not to talk about your fantastic book that you've just released, Going for 55, Rangers' journey back to the top of Scottish football. An absolutely cracking read. We'll talk a little bit about it, Chris. First of all, and how long it must have been such an enjoyable book to write for you to record Rangers' rise back to the summit of Scottish football.
That was something I said right at the start of the whole process, and at the end of it, I was all fairly confident when I started writing it that Rangers would go on and win title 55 this season. I thought in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, whenever it is, to be able to look back on a body of work that I've produced and be able to look back on something and say 55 will be the most significant title win in Rangers history, and to have something to mark that almost would be quite a nice thing to have personally and professionally. So that was one of the kind of key drivers behind doing the project, and as it unfolded and as it evolved, just became something that I'm really proud of. The feedback I've had from fans and from guys in the press and from all quarters has been overwhelmingly positive, and it means so much. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and really pleased with the feedback that I've had on it. It's been a great process to be involved in. Yeah,
absolutely. Is it? I mean, a lot of work has obviously went into it. Was it tough juggling your day job covering Rangers, of course, and then doing that as well, writing a book? I've not done it myself, but it looks like it's certainly a lot of work and love goes into it.
There were a few early mornings to try and get some book stuff done before the Herald and Times stuff started, and a few late nights afterwards as well. But the whole thing, I actually didn't find the writing of it that difficult, because I basically saw it as 12 extended features. So used to doing features for the paper of anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 words. So my initial chapter length was meant to be 6.5. Maybe about halfway through it, I had to email the publisher and say, look, I'm not going to be able to stick to the word count here, can we up it? So I was initially asked for 80,000 words, ended up filing 100,000 words and doing a lot more than I initially planned to do. But I didn't find it overly. There was also some moments where I was a bit stressful in terms of trying to get a hold of people, and a bit tight in terms of doing the book stuff alongside, because obviously most of it came as Rangers were on the brink of winning 55, and then the kind of aftermath of that, and then building up to trophy days. So no, there was a few busy days in there, but I certainly.
Yeah.
Chris, can I ask what you think, having been at all the games last season, what in your mind was the most significant game? At what point did you think that it was going to be the book release was going to be safe for this year, and you were sure that it was going to be 55?
I think the January Old Firm game was probably the one that sealed it for me. I was round about that time. I'd actually been approached to do the book, because I think I got to about end of December, and also how the first half of the season had gone. By that stage, I was fairly sure Rangers were going to go on and actually win the title. And I had thought to myself, if I'm ever going to do a book, this is going to be the season to do it. This is going to be the achievement in the moment to actually do one on. But I had no idea how to go about it, or who to pitch it to, or how to actually start the process. So when Pete Burns of Polaris Publishing actually came to me and said, look, we would like you to do it, that took that hurdle out of my way, if you like. And it was round about that can run in January that the whole thing started to come together. So by the time we won the Old Firm game in January, especially then building on that coming through, by the time we then leave January, it was obvious that Rangers, it was a matter of when. now they're actually going to win the title. So around about that kind of early January, I was fairly confident enough to start making phone calls on it. But even then, the number of guys that I phoned and said, look, I'm doing this book on 55, and a number of guys come back and said, oh, phone me back once it's won, or I can't do it now because I don't want to jinx it. Like, you don't need to worry about jinxing it. It's obviously if it doesn't go to plan and this whole thing falls apart, none of this is going to see the light of day. But there were some people I went to that are still a wee bit kind of anxious about the whole thing. But I say most of the guys, or almost everybody I went to was were great with their time, great with their input, and the whole thing basically evolved and came together relatively smoothly, I think.
Yeah. What sort of people have you got involved in the book, Chris? Who can people look forward to reading about?
From a boardroom perspective, Dave King, John Gilligan, and Paul Murray are in there. Dave King writes the foreword to the book as well, and I need to send a special thanks to Dave for the time and effort that he put into it. Really appreciate it, not just for the book, over the years. So Dave and John look at where Rangers were and building up from 2015 through the Pedro years, the Caixinha experiment. And also Murphy and Robertson as well. So they can set the scene for Gerrard's appointment, and Paul Murray then comes in later on to reflect on 55, and also coming on the anniversary of regime change as well. In terms of former players, Derek Johnson's in there, Richard Gough, Mark Haitley, Ali McCoist is in there as well. Mark Allen also plays such a huge part in getting Gerrard in as well. So a lot of guys that have got different aspects on it. Some staff that work for the club, some people that have observed the club from afar, and a number of press colleagues from different papers as well. Really grateful for their help. Guys that have been at the games, guys that have been at the press conferences, guys that have seen the same things that I've seen but have a different view on it, or a different opinion on it, and to get their insight right across broadcast and newspaper media, that was really invaluable to me as well. So I'm really grateful and appreciative of all the help that I was able to get. I think I ended up with 32 or 33 interviews in there, so I feel like a fairly good effort to get that many, and I hope I'll be able to give fans a bit of depth to the whole thing. It's not just 38 match reports, because everybody knows how the season went. Everybody knows they beat Aberdeen the first day of the season, they beat Aberdeen the last day of the season. It's a bit more than that. It's trying to really get into why 55 means as much and why 55 is as significant. So that's why I wanted to get as broad a range of people involved as possible.
Yeah, and you mentioned 2015. It sort of it begins from, and it's such a momentous year, isn't it? That it's with regards to the club with the regime change and all that. That's certainly a significant point to chart the journey.
I think that was the obvious starting point for me, because from regime change in 2015, to me, it became a matter of when Rangers would win the title, not if they would win the title. Not under the previous regime and the previous board and the previous people that were involved with the club. Rangers never had the drive or the finance or the willing or the personnel to actually go on and be champions again during those years. It was just never going to happen. As soon as Dave, John and Paul came in, yes, mistakes were made in the following years, and obviously know those mistakes well, but it became a matter of when Rangers would win. I think that was a key point in Rangers history. If regime change hadn't happened in 2015, Rangers wouldn't be Premiership champions in 2021. That's just a fact. So I think that was the obvious kind of starting point for it. I said, and the book really looks at the importance of regime change going through the first couple of years, building up to Gerrard. The second chapter's all on Gerrard's first couple of seasons and how he basically rebuilt the club from what he inherited after Caixinha. And then the following chapters are basically 1 month per chapter, but each has a certain theme to it. So January, for example, is the Ibrox disaster, remembering 50 years on since the disaster. April's dedicated to absent friends, so guys like Sandy Jardine, who saw Rangers fall but weren't around, unfortunately, to see them rise again. There's chapters on that look at the transfers, chapters that look at the European exertions under Gerrard over the last couple of years. So again, tried to give each chapter a bit more depth, rather than just saying, right, in October they won most of their games, and come the end of the season they won most of their games and they were champions. I hope I managed to give fans a bit of a wee bit of a trip down memory lane. There's some bad memories in there as well, unfortunately. But hopefully, as we get through it, and the memories and the recollections also become a whole lot more pleasant.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can people buy a copy, Chris? Where can they get themselves a read of this?
It's available from the publisher, so polarispublishing.com. Just go in there and search for my name or Going for 55, or available through all usual stores, so Amazon, Waterstones, W.H. Smith, as in supermarkets and like Tesco and Costco and stuff as well. So your usual places where you can pick up books. And if anybody's any trouble finding it, if they give me a shout via email or on social media, I can point them in the right direction and get them a copy out.
Superb, excellent stuff. Looking at the news surrounding the club, then, guys, Glenn Kamara sort of speculation never sort of goes away. I've seen reports again linking him with a move down south, supposedly £10 million, which is sort of a laughable figure. But I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. Joshua, Glenn Kamara is I think one that supporters maybe resigned to feeling that he may be one of the players that may leave the club this summer or soon after. What's your feeling towards Glenn Kamara? Of course, we waxed lyrical about him yesterday and in previous days about his qualities. What's your feeling about Kamara? Do you think he may be leaving the club sooner rather than later?
I don't know, because if you remember, there was a period of time, and Chris might remember this last season, where Gerrard did speak, I think after a European game, about the prospect of Kamara signing a new deal, and it didn't sound as if it was it sounded as if it was a real possibility. And I think, for example, the last contract extension Morelos signed was a 1 year extension that took him up to 2023. So I mean, I'd be personally surprised if Morelos signs another contract extension. But I mean, I don't think it's without the realms of possibility that Kamara gives Rangers another year, the security of another year in his contract, and then sold on next season. £10 million for Glenn Kamara is a joke. I think you could put him into most central midfields in the English Premiership, and he would not look out of place. I think just technically, and you'll have seen him, Chris, watching him in the flesh last year. I cannot think of a player that I enjoy watching more when he receives the ball. He's just so gifted at receiving the ball, and he always seems to get one over in the opposition by kidding them on which way he's going to go. So I think if he was to go this summer, you'd need someone in who does a little bit more what he does, because I don't think in the squad there's necessarily someone that can fulfill that role. I don't think Aribo's is comfortable deeper, and I think we've seen quite a few times when he plays a little bit deeper in midfield, he's prone to maybe not tracking back and defensive lapse or two. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, but I'd be surprised if him and Morelos go. And personally speaking, I'd love him to be around for another season. I think if you've seen how much he came on last season compared to 1920 and how well he played at the Euros, you could expect him to have another really, really good campaign for Rangers.
Yeah, Chris, he impressed at the Euros for Finland. I think everyone enjoyed watching them there. In terms of the Premier League, I think that's the most likely destination when the time does come that he leaves Ibrox. And you see him fitting into most Premier League sides down there. Do you think that he would cope with the demands and the style of play down there?
I would think so. When you look at how technically gifted he is, and as Joshua said, you look at the way that he can receive the ball in tight areas, the way that he can play out. He's so cool. He's so calm on the ball. Very rarely makes a mistake. There's times early on under Gerrard, he was making passes in the wrong area of the pitch and almost trying too hard. At times where it was just a case of clear your lines and regroup. He was perhaps trying things that were never going to come off at the stages. Very rare that I can think of any occasions like that. Last season, when he was picking the wrong option, he had a magnificent season for Rangers. Had a great Euros for Finland. I would love to see him play for Rangers in the Champions League. If Rangers could get to the group stages, I'd love to see him just go on and showcase what he can do in that arena. But I think now is probably the time for him to move on. The whole model that Rangers have. You have to sell players when the price is right, when the timing's right. I think you look at the work that's been done in the transfer market already in terms of bringing reinforcements in. It's kind of set up. Plus the names that have been linked at the club already. It's kind of set up for Glenn Kamara to move on this summer. And I think now is probably the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of supporters resigned that he may be one of the ones to go. Finally, lads, out this morning, we spoke about it yesterday, Joshua, or the day before, leaked pictures of Rangers' new away shirt, away kit. In fact, it's black with a sort of red flashes on it, and the gold, yellowy crest and Castore badge and sponsor as well. First impressions, Joshua, what do you reckon?
My first impressions are that it's not my favourite kit I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. I've told you before, I'm not a fan of the gold. So yeah, it's not my favourite. Maybe there'll be a belter of a third kit. Not a big fan of black and red together. I like the kind of promo campaign. I thought they marketed it cleverly, and it was interesting. But it's not one of those kits that you see and think, I must have that. You know, what did you think?
Me myself, I'm not going to be wearing the kit. I don't think, unless I was playing fives. I have to see it in the flesh. I know they're wearing it against Brighton tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see in action. I liked the black kit last season that you didn't really like so much, with the sort of orange sort of trim. What about you, Chris? Are you a fan of the new jersey?
I don't particularly like it. No, I think the new home one is okay. I'm not like Joshua. I'm not a massive fan of the gold. I think they've gone a bit OTT on the gold and trying a wee bit too hard with the gold. On the home one, they just about get away with it. On this new away one, I don't quite see it. I think there's too much going on. I do get they're trying to link it's 100, or trying to link it into the 150th anniversary and it's our governed roots and that type of thing. But I think for a 150th kit, it could have been done a wee bit better. A lot of the Castore stuff does look really smart and looks really clean and really fresh. This one just looks a bit of a mess, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the great pantheon of kits, Chris, is there any ones that stand out that you loved, or any disasters? Where does it rank?
In terms of disasters, right up there with some of the Blackthorn ones under the League One campaign. I don't know if that was just to do with the team on the park rather than the actual. Joshua mentioned the promo campaign. I thought, again, like yourself, Joshua, was quite good. That Blackthorn one always brings back the memory. All the signings lined up inside Murray Park. Like Nicky Law and Steve Smith wearing shirts that were nowhere near the right size for them. So full marks for the club for the marketing campaign. Not a massive fan of the ship. So we'll see what the third one brings. I'm sure there's another one in the pipeline because there's a new bit of Castore merchandise in the pipeline every 5 minutes these days. So wait long to see their next offering.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent stuff, guys. Well, that'll do us there for the morning briefing. Thanks very much, Chris, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having us on.
And Joshua, thank you. Lots of great. You're busy today, Joshua, as always.
Always busy, mate. Yeah, working away on a piece on Michael Beale. Attended one of his coaching webinars, and some really interesting insight into why he sets up in Rangers in particular ways, and alludes to lots of different tweaks he's made throughout the years. So that'll be out today, and it's really interesting. Some really interesting content from Beale himself.
Magic, excellent stuff. Well, thanks everyone for joining us as ever. There's lots of great content coming your way on the website and the social media accounts. Make sure you follow. We'll be covering the Brighton game tomorrow as well. And we'll be back on Monday for Monday's morning briefing. But until then, take care and bye for now.